And right now we're about to have a very important conversation, a conversation that affects each and every one of us. It's about heart attacks and its factors. And I'm going to be speaking to Dr. Eugene Ampofo-Befi, physician specialist and cardiologist in training, and Emmanuel Seriam Duku, cath lab and capital equipment business lead here in Ghana. You are well welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
Much. Doing well?
Yeah, so off camera, we were actually talking about heart attacks, and I asked, can you tell that someone is about to get a heart attack? Yes, I'm going to let you explain that.
Thank you very much. The term heart attack is more of a lay term.
Yeah.
And in terms of the medical field, we use the term myocardial infarction. Myocardial. So myo, muscle, cardia representing the heart muscle, and infarction literally means dead tissue. You understand? The tissue is dead or is dying. In simple. So basically, if someone has a heart attack, the person comes with sudden onset chest pain or sudden onset chest heaviness or chest tightness, typically around this area behind the breastbone. You may feel a sudden pressure or tightness or pain. And typically, the pain may be associated with a feeling that something bad is about to happen. I'm about to die. We call it feeling of impending doom. Okay, so you have this chest pain, which is scary, it's painful, typically lasts more than 20 minutes. It's not that chest pain that just comes all of single 1 second, 2 minutes and goes away. Typically lasts longer, and it may be associated with you sweating profusely. You may vomit or feel like vomiting, and in some situations the pain may move to the left shoulder or the left neck or the jaw. So you can have that. That's the typical presentation as we describe it. And you were asking whether you could tell whether someone is about to have a heart attack. So before someone gets a heart attack, there may be warnings or there may not be warning. You may not have a warning. What lies behind the cause of the heart attack basically is you having blocked arteries. Okay, the heart, as you could see here, has blood supply. So you see the red vessels here, those are the arteries, and you see the blue representing the veins. So the arteries supply blood to the heart. So the heart is a pump. It works as a pump, okay, to pump blood to the body. And the reason why it has to pump is that the body needs nutrients, needs oxygen, the tissue to work. So the heart is the one that coordinates that together with the lungs, because you need the lungs to add oxygen to the blood, and that blood with oxygen is pumped to the body. However, the heart itself also needs blood supply. You understand? So when you have the blood supply to the heart getting blocked suddenly, then it comes with that sudden presentation, which we call heart attack. But before you come with that sudden presentation, you may have a patient reporting with chest pain on exertion. So the patient will tell you, when I walk maybe 100 meters or 50 meters, I get this chest pain that stops when I rest. So that is a stage where we describe it as you are having what? Angina. So you hear the term angina, angina, angina. So that is typically chest pain on exertion, that is relieved by rest. Okay. And you will be fortunate to have that presentation before you get the heart attack. But most often, it's from the name, it's an attack. It's sudden with no warning. But if you are fortunate, you will have these leading symptoms that may prompt you to seek help
early.
And that may, if you do that early, then the doctors may be able to evaluate and know that yes, you have indeed blocked arteries, and put in the necessary measures to prevent the attack from happening.
All right. Okay. So we're actually having this conversation because tomorrow is World Heart Day. And I'm actually enjoying it already. I have so many questions, but tell us what the Ghanaian Society of Cardiology is all about.
Okay. Thank you very much. So the Ghanaian Society of Cardiology is a society made up of doctors, practitioners, nurses. We have associate members with interest in improving cardiovascular health in the country, specifically Ghana. Though we also have the part of our goal to ensure that as a collective, the cardiovascular health improves worldwide.
Yeah.
But our primary responsibility is to Ghanaians to help reduce the death from cardiovascular diseases among the Ghanaian population.
Right.
Cardiovascular diseases, which are diseases that affect the heart and the arteries, the vessels, is the leading cause of death worldwide, and Ghana is no exception. And so we have to make a conscious collective effort to help reduce that risk.
Right.
And to do that, when it comes to cardiovascular disease, cardiologists champion that cause. Not only cardiologists, it's a teamwork, but in that, to lead, we need a group of doctors like-minded to champion that cause. So essentially, we have cardiologists, consultants, and we have cardiologists who are in training like myself. We have associate members both outside of Ghana. So we have cardiologists who are out practicing outside of Ghana, in the US, in the UK, who are all members of the society. And our goal is to improve cardiovascular health and reduce cardiovascular death among Ghanaians. So
right.
currently, we have our president being Dr. Collins Kokro, who is a cardiologist at Confanochi Teaching Hospital. The vice president is Dr. Francis Ajekum, who is a cardiologist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Then we have our general secretary being Dr. Lambert.
Right.
So, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Emmanuel, what's the importance of World Heart Day?
Right. Thank you very much. So like you said, cardiovascular disease is one of the biggest killers across the world, and especially in Africa, where we are just getting out of the scourge of infectious disease. Now you're beginning to have the productive age dying from cardiovascular disease. So I'm sure somebody listening to us will know that, oh, I know somebody who said she was having chest pain, and then the next thing we heard, the person died. He was actually just telling me about an episode like that. So World Heart Day is to draw attention to the fact that your heart is at the center of every conversation. And we want to make sure that Ghanaians are aware of the fact that you need to take healthy options, healthy choices. And again, if somebody has conditions that require interventions, thankfully we're able to have qualified personnel and qualified and centers in Ghana where you can have these procedures done safely. And that's where my company, Medtronic, and other companies come in, where we're able to provide the training, we're able to provide the needed resources to be able to do these procedures right here in Ghana. So World Heart Day is tomorrow. We're asking that for a minute, just stop, think about your heart, know that everything emanates from the chest. So the theme this year is use heart for every heart. Think about your chest, think about your heart, and make the right choices. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we've been talking about cardiovascular diseases. I'm sure there are people who are watching and they might not know what cardiovascular diseases are. What are cardiovascular diseases?
Thank you very much. So when we say cardiovascular disease, from the name cardio, heart, vascular, vessels. So essentially these are diseases that tend to affect the heart and mainly the vessels. And usually when we talk about the vessels, we are talking about mainly the arteries, the big arteries, okay? And the arteries, we know, carry blood away from the heart. You know, they carry blood with oxygen away from the heart. So when we are talking about cardiovascular disease, essentially disease that affect the heart that lead to an impairment that the heart is not able to function as a pump that is supposed to, or if it's doing that under significant stress. And also you are looking at disease of the heart vessel. So if you look at, for example, we are talking about heart attacks. So coronary artery disease is a cardiovascular disease. And when we say coronary artery disease, coronary refers to the blood flow to the heart, okay? So we are looking at diseases that affect the blood flow to the heart. And we can also have diseases that affect the blood flow to the brain, which is cerebral artery disease that leads to strokes. Then we can also have disease affect the arteries that supply the legs. Okay, so we call that one peripheral arterial disease. So essentially what is common to most of these groups of diseases is what we call atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis, which basically, if you could see from the screen, if our viewers can see that, if you look at the first one that is labeled normal cut cross section of the artery, you will see that there are essentially 3 layers of the artery, the pipes that carry blood away from the heart. There's an inner layer, a middle layer, which is usually muscular, and there's an outer layer. So if you look at the normal cut, within the inner layer, you can see that it's clean. You don't see any of those yellow things in there. So essentially, that's what the ideal artery is supposed to be. Now, with time, when you have risk factors like hypertension, diabetes, smoking, high cholesterol, obesity, these cause injury to the lining.
Yeah, and there's a tear.
Yes, so there's a damage to the lining, and that damage to the lining leads to a series of a cascade of processes that leads to the accumulation of cholesterol. A type of cholesterol called the LDL, commonly known as the bad cholesterol, is what usually is implicated. Okay, and that leads to accumulation of this yellowish substance you see, and with time it continues to grow and narrows the lumen. You understand? So if you look at the one labeled fatty material is deposited in the vessel, you notice that there's this yellow substance and the lumen has narrowed significantly. And the heart works like the economy, demand and supply. So the heart requires blood to work, requires oxygen, and oxygen is only transported by the red blood cells in blood. So when you walk or you exert yourself, the heart has to do enough work to meet that demand of walking, running, jogging. Okay, so it will demand more oxygen. Okay, but if you don't have any block, you are able to meet that demand with no issues. But if you have significant narrowing, now you are unable to meet that demand by the heart, and therefore there's reduced blood flow to the heart. So you are asking the heart to run, but you are not giving the heart enough oxygen because there's decreased blood flow. So the heart will tell you, my friend, the work you are giving to me, I can't do it. So it starts giving you the warning by having chest pain. And that is what we describe as the angina. So you start getting the chest pain when you are overexerting yourself, then you stop, then it goes away. Now, that is when it is stable because the narrowing has occurred gradually. So you have time to compensate. Now, if you look at the last image on the right, it's completely obstructed. There's a clot in the middle.
Yeah, there's a red clot.
Yes, so some things can lead to that yellowish covering, the plaque, rupturing, and that will lead to a cascade and a clot will form on top of it. So that clot can completely obstruct the vessel. So if it completely obstructs the vessel, that is 100%, and that is why you come with sudden onset chest pain. It may also come with sudden onset chest pain, but it may be 95% obstructed. Now, if it is sudden and complete, so imagine this heart, you have the artery supplying this part of the heart completely getting blocked. Okay, that is where the person will come with sudden onset chest pain, what we will describe as heart attack. Now you have a window period to open that vessel up. And if you do not open that vessel up within that window period, it leads to irreversibility. You cannot salvage the muscle that dies as a result of the blood cutting off. So there's a window period. And so the reason why we are stressing on this is we as a country, in terms of intervention, where Medtronic comes in. So Medtronic gives us the things we need, the stents, which is like a pipe to go in and open the blockage up to re-establish blood flow. But most people are unable to get in time to benefit from that reopening of the vessel to ensure that the muscle do not die. So we say time is muscle, because if you delay, the muscle goes away. So we are stressing on the risk factors. As a country, prevention is what can help us, because we don't have the full capacity as a country to deal with interventions. Okay, we have capacity doing interventions, but very few people have access, and as a country we are not there yet. So we need to help mitigate those risk factors that will lead to the heart attacks. And what are these risk factors? I mentioned them earlier on: hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, smoking, obesity. Even psychosocial stress is a risk factor for heart attack. So these risk factors have to be identified and preventive measures instituted. But how will you know whether you have hypertension or not? The commonest presentation of hypertension is no symptoms.
Wow.
No symptoms.
Silent killer.
So if you are waiting to have the headaches or symptoms to get to the hospital to get assessed, it may be late. So at least have your BP checked and know that my BP is within normal or it's not within normal. And the doctors will advise you based on the value, the frequency at which you are supposed to have it checked. That is the only way you can know whether you have hypertension or not. If you are waiting to have symptoms, the first symptom that you may have for hypertension may be what? A stroke.
All right. Okay, so one of my producers are asking, can broken hearts cause heart attacks?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So there's actually a heart disease called broken heart syndrome.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so the term broken heart we use it to describe more of emotions.
Yeah.
You know, that will not necessarily directly lead to a heart attack.
Yeah.
However, there's situations that lead to intense emotions can cause what we call broken heart syndrome. It's called chakuchumbo, which literally your heart will blow out and become big, yes, and your heart can fail from that strong emotions. But that is not a heart attack. But yes, indeed, strong emotions.
But it's a cardiovascular
yes,
thing. Yeah.
Strong emotions can cause what we call broken heart syndrome, known as chakuchumbo syndrome.
Okay, so Emmanuel, to wrap up, what are some of the steps we can take in protecting our cardiovascular areas?
Right, thanks. So like you said, exercise is key. Okay. You see a lot of people walking up a brewery or taking the time to run in Legon. It's something we should all get into the habit of doing. Again, you talked about smoking, and in the risk factors, we say that stop smoking.
Okay.
Stop it. Okay. And then we also say try and cut down the amount of alcohol you take. If possible, just stop it.
Stop it.
Another thing is adding salt to food. It's a very common thing we do. Sometimes you can just have enough salt in food, but while you're eating, adding salt is one of the major risk factors, especially around here, right? And then just get yourself checked. Tomorrow is World Heart Day. We're just saying that just take a minute, go by the hospital, go by a pharmacy, just get them to just register, take your blood pressure, write it, and just talk to a health professional and ask, what does this mean? Because there are lots of people walking out there with blood pressures 170, 200, and they're just walking around, walking time bombs. So tomorrow, please, we are just drawing your attention to this. Take time, go by the pharmacy, go by a hospital, get yourself checked. And if there's any issue, just know that we have competent hands in Ghana who are able to provide you the care you need.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we've been talking to Emmanuel Seriam Duku, Cat Lab and Capital Equipment Business Lead here in Ghana, and Dr. Eugene Ampofo-Befi, physician specialist and cardiologist in training. Thank you so much. So like they clearly said, it's important for you to go and check yourself. Tomorrow is World Heart Day, so take some time and there's a word you use, there's a phrase you use.
Get yourself checked.
No.
Use heart for every heart.
Yeah.
Use heart for every heart.
Use heart for every heart. Remember, your heart is important for you.